Hey, I'm Wicca Phase Springs Eternal. We're at Comics on the Green in Scranton, PA. Run for Cover gave me $50, well, a credit card, and I'm gonna buy some comics. What's up? Normally they do like record selection where you go to a record store and they give you $50, but I'd rather come here because I'd probably come here anyway today. So I've been coming here since I was like 12. Dave was nice enough to give me a job here when I was in college. But new comics come out on Wednesday, and we're here on a Wednesday, so I'll be buying some new books that I read monthly and maybe some older stuff too. I'm gonna get Thor. Thor has been super good recently. It's not a book that I read when I was growing up, but Jason Aaron is writing it, and he's very talented. It's one of the books that I think was recommended to me a few years ago, so I'm definitely getting that. Batman, of course. Batman has been really incredible. They're up to issue 62 now, so what they do is they relaunch them every few years, like just to boost sales and stuff, and they'll start the numbering over at 1. Tom King is writing it, and Tom King is one of my favorite newer writers. I think he's ex-CIA, and for whatever reason is writing Batman now. Like really emotional storytelling. Gets into, you know, the psyche of Batman, which a lot of books try to do, but I think he does it really well. This issue I'm really excited about because it features Professor Pig, created by Grant Morrison, who's my favorite writer. He's super weird, and I'll probably be buying some Grant Morrison comics later. Very excited about this issue. Speaking of Grant Morrison, so Grant Morrison is a Scottish writer. He's the one who created Professor Pig, but he started writing, I guess in the 80s, at least mainstream stuff, and was part of a wave of comics, of like UK comic writers that were brought to Marvel and DC. Alan Moore was one of them, Neil Gaiman was one of them. They were brought over to just tell like edgier stories or, you know, weirder stuff. But Grant Morrison just recently started writing Green Lantern. Grant Morrison stories usually start pretty straightforward, and then by issue 7 or 8 get really bizarre, and so I'm excited to see where this goes. This guy, Liam Sharp, is doing the art. It's very detailed. I mean, look at these colors, right? That's good. We're gonna get Criminal, #1 by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Each criminal story is about 6 issues, and then they'll collect it in like a graphic novel type thing. Ed Brubaker is like kind of the opposite of Grant Morrison, where he's very down to earth. The storytelling is pretty easy to follow, but always really gritty and still pretty weird. And Sean Phillips' art is really good. It has like an old school feel to it. You see like the black and white, the color. I buy everything that Ed Brubaker writes, whether it's superhero stuff. He wrote Daredevil for a while. He wrote some issues of Batman, but really good, and never tells a bad story. So I'm excited for this. I think the last new book I'm gonna get is Prodigy. So I haven't read the first issue of this, but Mark Millar wrote a lot with Grant Morrison. Recently, I mean within the past 10 years, a lot of his books have been getting picked up for movies. Kick-Ass is probably the biggest one that people would know. What else? Kingsman, yeah.
With Netflix now, so all his properties are pretty much, even if the comic has Netflix probably on the back cover somewhere.
He knows. There you go. Yeah, it seems like he's, you know, writing to get this stuff optioned, but he's really good. Not as weird as Grant Morrison, more like fast-paced, like action movie type storytelling. This is his new series. Again, I haven't read. I'm a little bit behind because I just got back from a tour. So I came back here and picked up about 45 or 50 comics that I had missed when I was gone. But definitely excited for this, and he's another writer where I'll buy everything that he writes, at least to give it a shot. Oh, so this is We Can Never Go Home, which is co-written by Pat Kinlan from Self-Defense Family. I mean, I love Pat. Tiger Shaw did a bunch of tours with Self-Defense Family. I mean, obviously the bigger story is that Pat is now a published author and continues to write comics, which is really awesome. And his comics are good. Like normally you'll hear about, you know, celebrities or musicians or something like that using their name to, you know, write a Spider-Man story or something like that. You know, CM Punk wrote some stuff that was, you know, just whatever. But Pat's really good, and I mean, this comic was super well received. I have the first few issues of this series, but for whatever reason, like I missed one or two. So I'm gonna pick this up and read it and finish it, and I'll let Pat know what I think. Not that he cares or anything like that. So if you're interested in getting into comics but feel like overwhelmed by the amount of comics that are out there and all the collections and stuff, I'll give you some recommendations. Wicked and Divine is a really good one. I'm gonna pull it from here. I would recommend this book if you are, one, if you want to get into comics, and two, if you're a fan of my music, because I think you get a lot of the same things out of it. You get the weird, like witchcraft, occult aspects, and then you also get very emotional storytelling, like melodramatic, you know, interactions between the characters and stuff like that, and relationships, you know, evolve throughout the series. But it's also pretty easy to follow, and the art is beautiful. Here, I'll show you. Yeah, it's just super good, super bright looking. The idea of this story is that every few years, I think it's like every 40 years or something like that, there's a pantheon of gods. Those gods will take a human form, so they'll pick someone who kind of embodies their spirit. And the weird thing about this story is that they usually become like pop stars or rock stars, so it plays on the idea of like rock stars, musicians, and celebrities being larger than life and having godlike qualities, and you know, with their influence and stuff like that, which is definitely something I'm interested in. So yeah, Wicked and Divine by Kieran Gillen. Check it out. We Three is another really good one. It's written by Grant Morrison, who I mentioned before, my favorite. Probably one of the more down-to-earth Grant Morrison stories. He's super involved with animal rights and stuff like that, so it speaks to that, you know, vegetarianism, veganism, just having compassion towards animals. And it has art by my favorite artist of all time, Frank Whiteley. Super detailed, right? Look at the lines there, like, you know, on the little hairs. Pretty grotesque. There's no lack of effort or detail in this book. And again, I think it's only like 2 or 3 issues. So if you're not, if you want to jump in to something but don't want to commit to a, you know, a 20-issue series or something like that, or a 100-issue series, We Three is a really good one to start with. Definitely recommend that. This is another really good one. Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. I don't mean to keep talking about Grant Morrison, but I'm going to when we're talking about comics. I think when I was pretty young, 12 or 13, and I asked Dave, the owner, like for a more mature story, something that was like critically acclaimed or something like that. He recommended this to me with a heavy warning that it was very mature and disturbing. You know, at the time I thought, how disturbing could it be? And it turns out it was very disturbing, you know. And I think this was Grant Morrison's first major work for like a major company, and it's just like a graphic novel, so it's, you know, 100, 200 pages just collected in one form like this. It didn't come out monthly or anything like that. And he had complete creative freedom to tell whatever kind of Batman story that he told. So he told this story where Batman is trapped in Arkham Asylum, which is like the kind of like a prison or like a rehabilitation center for villains in Batman. And he's moving through the asylum trying to find his way out, but the art is just super crazy. It's all painted, really abstract. You're not gonna get a lot of straightforward storytelling here. You know, you get the Joker with his, I mean, he barely has like his face barely has a shape, right? And it's just super emotional, artistic, you know, painting style that you don't normally get in comic books, or at least monthly comics, you know, that are meant for kids. And this is one of the first comics that I read, and then thought I need to read that again and probably another time to fully understand what's happening. But again, that's the kind of comic that I like, where you don't get everything from one sitting in one reading. You have to go back and piece together what you missed. But Dave McKean's art has always been, I highly recommend this book. Maybe wait until you're 15 or 16 to read it, because it definitely messed me up when I was young. It's Mr. Miracle. So this is written by Tom King, he's writing Batman now. Mr. Miracle was a character from the 70s that Jack Kirby created, who's like legendary comics creator and artist. And recently Tom King did this 12-issue series, made it way darker, but it's definitely my favorite book of the past year. One of my favorites of all time, honestly, which I don't say about stuff that just ended, but it is over now. Highly recommend it. Very weird art, really glitchy stuff you'll see here. It's not all just panels and stuff. They'll have like word blocks, things like that. Good art that's scratchy. Definitely good if you want to read like a superhero story that's not corny or like for kids. I can't imagine any children reading this and enjoying it. Definitely recommend it. Mr. Miracle, again, Tom King, Mitch Gerads, both great. I'll read anything that Tom King writes now after reading this, so highly recommend it. My first introduction to comics was my parents taking me to like a recycling center that their friend worked at, and for whatever reason they would get old comics or you know, a month-old comics or something that didn't sell on newsstands, and they would just give them to me. So I would come home with boxes of comics, like random, usually junk that didn't sell. You know, eventually I started realizing that I wanted more and that I wanted a certain type of comic. You know, I wanted specific X-Men comics that maybe I got 1 or 2 issues at the recycling place and wanted the rest of the story, so I started coming here. And what I would do is go to these back issues. They're not the new issues that month. They're just like older issues from the past few months or past few years or something like that. So let's see here, I'll just pick out a few. Right, and like these are all books that I remember getting from the recycling center when I was, again, 10 years old or something like that, 11 years old. Like I remember working here and people coming and asking about these books, and that being the first area where I was really able to tell people like, yeah, I know about that, I'm an expert on that, I'll tell you exactly what you need and what you can skip and stuff like that. So yeah, let's see, Excalibur was my favorite. Featured Nightcrawler, who's a popular X-Men, except in this one he was more of a badass. So this is like classic, you know, 90s superhero boom, where the action is always over the top. You know, everyone has these like impossible expressions on their face. Everything's huge. You're always gonna get the teeth with like people spitting and stuff like that. And you know, in the moment, I thought it was the coolest thing. Even looking through the ads, like you're gonna see the MTV home video, which is another cool aspect of being able to go back stuff from the 90s, 80s, and see what their culture was like then. I mean, aside from reading comics and stuff, you also get the collection aspect of it, which is super fun. You get like a physical thing that you can hold and sort and organize and stuff, which for whatever reason I really like. You know, pictures and stuff are cool, but I'm usually reading for the story, and there's no shortage of awesome writers out there. I have so many comics, and there's so many more that I just want to read and don't have the time for, but they'll always be here, like they're not going anywhere. So that's a good aspect of pursuing this as like a hobby or something like that. So like all of these are pretty expensive ones, definitely more rare ones. And then the ones behind the counter, I won't touch. And when I worked here, I wouldn't touch them because some of them are thousands of dollars. That I was never in it just to have like high-priced books. And you know, if you don't want to buy like Spider-Man #1, it's so easy to just find a reprint of it. But the collection aspect of it is huge. And I imagine there's so many people who don't, you know, they don't care what the story contains. If it's the introduction of a character, if it's like something major that happens, someone dies, someone changes their costume or something like that, people freak out about that and will like rush to get that book. And if it's an older book, it'll skyrocket in value. Like Deadpool was always, you know, a cool character, I guess. And once that Deadpool movie came out a few years ago, the first appearance of Deadpool shot up in value like thousands of dollars. His second appearance shot up thousands of dollars. People were calling here every day, like, do you have the first appearance of Deadpool? Like, do you want to buy the first appearance of Deadpool? I have it from when I was a kid. But yeah, there's no shortage of expensive stuff. You come over here, like, even some of these are new. Like, that Venom book isn't old at all, right? That's probably, you know, a year old or something like that, maybe a few years old. Aside from a new character being introduced or a major change to a character, there's no reason, like rhyme or reason for a comic to blow up, but it happens like multiple times a year where one comic will be super popular, super hard to get, and will go on eBay the day it's released for like $50 to $100. Normally comics are like $3 or $4. Really strange aspect of comic collecting that I tend to just stay away from. All right, I think I'm all set. And I have the Run for Cover Records credit card, so.
The most important part of this process.
Yeah.
Did you find everything, sir?
I did.
Any questions?
No.
No, okay.
Dave gave me, was nice enough to give me a job when I was in college.
He's a good worker, he's a good guy.
I was okay.
He's a good guy.
Oh, we're at 40, here, come here. We're at 44-14. I was so close to 50. And I'll take Secret Wars #8. Cool, I think we're all set.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Cool.
Dave.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Matt.
Make us look good if you can. It's gonna be not
Yeah.
easy, I know, but see you if you can.
Awesome, thanks guys.
Yeah,
I
cool.
appreciate it. I'll see you next week. They will see me next week. Thank you to Comics on the Green for having us. Yeah, definitely check out your local comic store. If you don't know where to start, hit me up. I'll give you some recommendations. Anything else? Want to do it again?